Hello, everybody. Uh, it's been a while since I've done one of these cosplay streams, but we are back. And my next guest, I'm very excited to have on to chat cosplay with me. You may have seen her in some of the She-Hulk streams that I've been doing over the past 2 months. But she's back to talk cosplay with me, so I'm super excited to invite my next guest, Allie Whoops, back with me. So let's bring her in.
Hey.
Hi. Welcome back.
Happy to be back.
It's kind of a shame that we're not talking about She-Hulk again.
I know, right?
The show's over.
Still holding out for another season. Still holding out.
Yeah, I have hope.
Nothing official yet, but I don't think we've seen the last of her.
Definitely not. So we have people already in the chat. Hello. All right, so like I've done on previous cosplay chats, we're just going to go through a bunch of questions and talk about cosplay. So
sounds good.
All right, so first things first, I always ask everyone this. How long have you been cosplaying and what got you into it?
If memory serves correctly, so I live in Australia now, but I grew up in the United States. And I did grow up in the countryside, but the nearest place to attend conventions was the Kansas City area. And I believe that NakaCon 2013 was my first convention, which means that this March is going to make 10 years of cosplaying for me. I've been at it a while. Essentially, my younger sister and I, we were very geeky, nerdy kids anyway. You know, we were already into drawing and, you know, making fan art and interacting with fan communities online. And we just kind of slowly started going, hey, that cosplay thing some people do, that looks like fun, didn't it? And I was old enough that I had a full-time job and she was still a student. And one day I was like, hey, if I buy us tickets to this NakaCon thing, you sew better than me. Will you help me make some stuff and I'll buy our supplies and we can go? And it kind of just, we went and we had an awesome time. And from there it was like, oh, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened with me. Like I went to my first con and I got really interested in cosplay after that. After seeing all the cosplayers there, I was like,
yeah,
wow, it's really interesting and cool.
I'd never been around other cosplayers or even been to a con before I cosplayed. And here I jumped in head first. I took 2 conventions to my first goodness, I can't talk this morning. 2 new cosplays to my first ever convention and was like, oh, this is what I do now.
Yeah.
And I think I went home and like the very next week was buying fabric for the next convention that was scheduled for August at the time. And I was like, well, and that was when I started teaching myself how to sew, because I've like fully relied on my sister for that first one because I couldn't do anything with a sewing machine. I was scared of it. And she'd be like, just iron this, just pleat this skirt while I sew everything together. Just don't touch anything.
Yeah, it's what amazes me is like how many people out there are cosplayers and how much they love it. Like that just blew my mind when I first started.
Yeah, it was. I still remember walking into my first convention. I was dressed as Tamaki from Oron Host Club. And like walking over across the street from our other hotel, someone had leaned out the window of their car and yelled to my sister, oh, nice costumes, because she was Haruhi from the same show. We were like, we looked at each other and smiled and we're like, oh, this is going to be great. Yeah. And we walked into the convention and there were so many people. And immediately somebody yells Tamaki and comes running up to me. And like from that like moment forward, I was like, oh, people like this. People, oh no. And I remember like our parents texting us to check in on us a couple of hours later. We were like, we found our people. This is us now.
Yeah, cons are so much fun to go to. It's like, it's a gathering of people that are like-minded and just like you. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was really amazing. And again, growing up in a small town, it was one of the first times I felt like I was finding somewhere that wasn't just I do this because I'm close to it. It was I do this and I know these people because I want to and we have mutual interests. It was really cool like that.
Yeah. So what is your creative process when starting a cosplay?
Well, this was one of the ones I was looking over yesterday and kind of like preemptively thinking like, what is my creative process? Because the truth is it's kind of all over the place. Because half the time I have this terrible habit of I'll be watching something with my partner and I'll be like, what if I made that? And then I'll spend the rest of it, like Googling where to source wigs and fabric and hey, look, I could do this and that instead of, consuming the media that we were watching or whatever. But I guess it's like if I'm officially deciding, what am I going to do with a costume? Just starting to search up fabric. One of my favorite fabric stores, does $1 samples. So I'll spend like $20 on a sheet of samples. And I always store the samples away in case I need them for a future costume too. Like I have a little, like, this is my samples from, stores. And then, sourcing the wig is another thing that I always have a lot of fun with. But I have a lot of wigs now. So usually I go to my pile first, but I forget I have some of them now. But I guess that's kind of essentially it is I just first kind of start researching where I'm going to buy everything from and creating like a folder in my phone of references and things like that. A lot of times I don't bother with this with, pretty straightforward designs, but for like a complicated design, like my recent MCU She-Hulk, I'll do a lot of sketches on like, I used to do it on pen and paper, but my partner got me an iPad earlier this year for my birthday. So I've got like,
Nice.
the digital pen now, and that makes it a bit easier because then if I want to change something, it's a bit easier to go, I'm tweaking it to this, and it's a little bit easier to make small alterations. Because sometimes, like, I find especially with comic books, because different artists throughout the years, working on that character and drawing it, it'll be hard to find a consistent reference, sometimes even within the same story, just because of like the speed at which they're producing these things.
That's
so a lot of times I will draw something and go, this is my reference. I have made this from, several other references, but I'm following this now, this thing I drew based on whatever I liked from other references of it. Obviously, that's a bit different when you're working with something, that's consistent, like a live action costume, but I make a lot of comic book based costumes. So
yeah, there's a lot more references when you go off of like a comic book costume instead of live action, because normally they don't release those pictures until like the very last minute. So
speaking as somebody who sketched her She-Hulk based on leaked designs from a thermos,
but it still turned out great though. So
thank you. Really proud of that one. But I started sketching that when I was sick and had COVID back in March, like the week after the thermos's images leaked or something like that. And then just kept slowly altering it based on other leaked posters and things until I went, I'm just going to start this because I don't care if the show ends up being ever so slightly different or not. And I'm getting impatient. So, but it ended up being pretty close, thank goodness.
And I don't blame you on that because, I mean, you said that She-Hulk is one of your favorite characters, so
definitely. Yeah.
So what would you say your favorite convention is that you've been to?
That one is easy. PAX Australia. Every year it's like nerd Christmas. I love video games, and there's just so much video game content there, whether it's, previews of big up and coming AAA games, or like my favorite part is just the indie developers section where it's just like this giant little, I want to call it a field, but it's indoors, just this area full of like, computer and gaming setups by smaller local developers, and they'll just talk to you about their game and you can have a try and grab a business card and hopefully it'll be out on Steam soon.
It's pretty cool.
It's really fun.
Trying to think of any cons here in the US that are like that. I mean, I know there's so many, like I can't keep track of all of them, but I mean, there's a lot of cons that I've been to that have like a gaming section where you can just sit down and play
Mhm.
some games, and they have tournaments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
This is
it's
like if
pretty
the
cool.
whole convention was that. And it's just so fun and has a great energy.
Hmm. So cosplay pet peeves.
I think making gloves is terrible. I hate it. I hate making gloves. It makes me sour every time. I try to buy them wherever possible, but sometimes I have to make them because I want them, like, in the case of like my Kitty Pride costume I made earlier this year. Yes, I could have gone out and bought a pair of yellow pleather or leather gloves, but they might not have been the same yellow as my suit. So
True.
I made them myself, and I've learned a few techniques that make it better, but I just hate making gloves with every fiber of my being. It puts me in a bad mood. Even recently with my Miranda Lawson that I purchased and then, made some fitting alterations to the costume. She had very specific designs on her gloves and they were
Hmm.
way too big, so I had to take them in. And I couldn't just, buy a pair that already fit because they've got these little patterns on the fingers and stuff. And even that, even just taking in the gloves made me sour. I was just
Yeah.
like, my pet peeve is that gloves exist and they're part of most superhero costumes.
True. Unless it's like a whole like jumpsuit or something, or the gloves are
Yep.
like attached or something.
And even then, a lot of times I have to alter them because most of the times they show up from, like, if you buy a pre-made one and they're too long or something. I'm just like, if I never had to make gloves again, I'd be such a happy woman. Never had to touch anything that looked like a glove again with little fingers and little stitches are too tight and they're so hard to turn in inside out and right side out and ugh.
Yeah, I can definitely see why you be frustrated with that. Because like for me, for example, like
Yeah.
I think I bought these. I think it was Winter Soldier gloves or something for
Mhm.
one of my cosplays. It was like a mashup cosplay of Black Widow and Winter Soldier. So
Yeah.
I bought these gloves, like fingerless gloves, and they were like way too tight. I couldn't get my hand in them. Like,
Oh, no.
really?
Yeah, anytime I can find something and just buy it, I'm so much happier. Like, um,
Yeah.
with my comic book She-Hulk, I bought a pair of weightlifting gloves because I thought that felt appropriate, and then I stuck like an S that looks kind of like the S crest from from the Charles Soule run
Hmm.
on the glove over where the logo originally was, and I was like, oh, this is a blessed day. I don't have to do anything else to these except glue an S shape on. How
Nice.
wonderful.
So you mentioned earlier,
Mm.
like about looking for cosplay materials. Where do you normally look for
Yes.
those?
So here in Australia, my favorite shop is called the Remnant Warehouse, and they're based in Sydney. And they're basically one of those places that, they'll get the giant off bulk cuts of fabric from, somewhere else and sell them to you cheap. They do
Yeah.
sales a couple of times a year, and I stock up when they do. And they sell those dollar samples so I can have, like, for a low price, really good look at everything because I'm in Melbourne, they're in Sydney. I can't exactly go see it. They do have a physical store, but they always have really good deals on everything, so they're, like, one of my top favorites. Um, Spotlight is another big, brand here, and they do a lot of, they sell not everything, but a lot of those, like, the Yaya Han fabric collection that you can get in the US pretty easy. So sometimes if
Hmm.
I need one of those specifically, I can go there and find it. Um, I have had my parents in the United States mail me fabric from the Cosplay Fabrics collection before that wasn't available here. I have, like, a whole bunch of the, new Navy Super Preen that I still haven't seen for sale here, and I have, like, 3 meters of it, and I'm like, "Yeah, this is all mine."
Yeah.
Um, but of course, when I can modify from, clothing that already exists, that's usually the easiest thing, and for that, I just go down to the local thrift store, and I'm like, "And what can I get for $5 today?"
Yeah. And of course, I think the most obvious one is looking online. Like
Yeah.
Amazon has everything.
I've honestly never bought fabric from Amazon, but Amazon's also a bit of a different setup here. But I guess there are other materials besides, fabric, of course. My brain mostly goes to fabric because I largely leave because my partner also cosplays. He takes care of a lot of the armor work, and I take care of most of our fabric work. And for our armor and stuff, like pretty much, the best place, undisputed, to get that in Australia is Lumen's Workshop, which is thankfully located in Melbourne. It's still a solid drive from where I am, but you can drive to the physical store without taking too much time out of your day if you want to here. And
Nice.
they also offer good shipping deals as well. And they carry all the different kinds of Eva foam, all the different kinds of Warbler. They even sell a small selection of Arta wigs. If you're looking for non-fabric cosplay supplies, they're pretty much your go-to.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of those types of stores where I am, unfortunately. So most of my cosplay shopping exists online. But if I happen to see something that I could like use for a cosplay, I'll get it like right on the spot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like I always kind of have a mental list of costumes I'd like to make, and sometimes I see things and go, that, especially if I'm at the thrift store for any reason, and my brain is like,
Mm-hmm.
well, you should also be looking for, a shirt that's this color and pants that are this, and maybe some shoes that are that.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of mentally constantly in the back of my mind, like there's like these little you know, just at trips, and I go, that, yep, cheap enough,
Yep.
buying it, got it, hoarding it for later.
Yep. And it like especially if it's like something that you can use again for a different cosplay, like that
Mm-hmm.
definitely helps you save some money, which is the next question.
Yeah, because I do try to make a lot of my things reusable where I can. Also, and I'm blessed because not everyone has the space to do this, but I'm not sure I've ever gotten rid of a wig before. Maybe like really cheap ones that I realized I was never going to use again. But I
Mm-hmm.
hoard my wigs and reuse them, something awful. I've been trying to make more like I have a pair of like basic ankle boots that I got for cheap at the thrift store because they were scuffed up, but then I put boot covers over them.
Yeah.
Um, I just try to make things wherever I can get away with not permanently attaching something to a piece, I do. Like my black cat suit, the fur collar on that is magnets. It's like fur on top,
Mm.
white felt on bottom, magnets in each, and I just kind of every time I put it on, I like pull the top of the suit back, I push the fur in there and I snap it over. And no damage to the suit, and I can
Yeah.
totally use that suit for other things now because basic black bodysuit's really good staple for your costume wardrobe.
True.
Um,
That's really
yeah,
creative.
thank you. I was pretty proud of that. I've encouraged and walked a lot of other Black Cat cosplayers through doing the same so that you can have the suit for other things. Um, but the other thing kind of is to a certain degree, I'm probably not the most thrifty cosplayer that there is. But I'm pretty lucky. I have a full-time job and I make decent money. And
Mm-hmm.
because of that, as a result, kind of I have more money than I have free time. So I'm kind of choosy about which costumes I make from scratch and which ones
Yeah.
I just buy. And I
Yeah.
think to a certain degree, there's no shame in if you have more money than time and you want to enjoy this hobby, buying things, especially if you are able to buy from like another small creator or someone in the community
Yeah.
and support their work as well. Maybe somebody who that is their job is to make cosplays. And well, since making cosplays isn't your job, but you've got the money to pay someone who does.
Yeah. So why not?
Yeah, exactly. Uh, when you have limited time, just got to make decisions sometimes of where I'm saving money versus where I'm saving time.
Very true. Like, especially like when like having a full-time job, you don't have
Mm.
a lot of time anyway, and then trying to fit like cosplay crafting into that, and plus everything else that you like would like to do outside of work,
Yep. All
it's
my
a
other
struggle.
hobbies and social life. And
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes I sit and go back and forth for a while on am I going to make this or am I going to pay somebody else to make this?
Struggle's real. So I know everyone has a really hard time with this question.
Mm.
So
Okay. So for my favorite cosplays, The one that I have made myself that I am most proud of is my new, She-Hulk TV show version. Like
Hmm.
I poured, I've been planning it since March and started sewing in July and only finished it about a week ago. I've poured so many hours into that thing. I love it to bits. I'm really proud
Yeah.
of it. I am probably gonna be a bit surprising when I say I'm still not sure it's my favorite one to wear. I do love wearing it. I feel really cool in it.
Yeah.
I've gotten some really cool reactions to it so far, even though I've only worn it to one event and I wasn't even green at the event. Um, but I think my favorite one to wear is still, after about 5 years of cosplaying this character, is probably my Black Cat cosplay. I just feel so incredibly pretty in that outfit and I just
Hmm.
really like it and it makes me happy. So it's probably just still my favorite.
Hmm.
But my new Miranda from Mass Effect costume is also right up there. That one's really good too.
Yeah, I agree. They both are really great.
Thank you.
So what would you say your dream cosplay would be,
Mm.
or any cosplay that you would like to do?
There's probably two that are like up there and I haven't tackled, like, because for a lot of them, like I see something I want to make, I jump in and make it. But there's a couple of them that are just, I do not have time, skill set, or space to store it at this stage in my life, so I haven't touched it. But
Mm.
the Iron Cat suit from the Marvel Comics is a huge one right now. And for anybody who isn't familiar with that one, it first appears in Jed McKay's Black Cat run, which is my favorite comic, like, ever. When she basically robs Tony Stark and makes herself a suit that's like this really sleek black and pink and silver, and it's, oh my goodness, it's incredible. I love it. And then it now has its own spin-off series right now, the Iron Cat series, which is like a direct sequel to the Black Cat series. And it's
That's
just,
cool.
the book is incredible. Jed really, really understands my favorite comic character of all time on a great level. And it's such a fun suit. I love it. And then the other one that I would really like to make would be from StarCraft, Sarah Kerrigan. But as much as like the regular look is really great, I'd like to make the Queen of Ghosts skin from the Heroes of the Storm game, which is kind of like a mashup of her original appearance and the one that everybody knows her for, which is the bony bug woman. But it's a really cool look that's kind of like, it's almost like Blizzard went and made like, hey, what if we gave you a skin of like an AU where the thing still happened to her, but she didn't necessarily go bad.
Yeah.
And both that concept brings me joy and the design, but it's massive. It's got huge wings. It'd be
Ooh.
one heck of an undertaking, but someday
Yeah.
I'd really like to make that.
Yeah. Like that would definitely take a while.
Oh goodness, I see people make, wings, like these harnesses for big heavy wings, and I'm just like, that's a lot.
It is. Definitely is. Um, this can be more than one character, by the way, but
Okay.
what character do you associate with the most?
Yeah. So do you mean associate like as in cosplay and the most, or as in like connect with the most?
Oh, connect with.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. So like, I mean, like, I think a character that I cosplay that I have been told by multiple people is a lot, just generally talks and behaves like me, is a Spider Woman, Jessica Drew. Um, Occasionally I will be reading a comic with her in it and I'll be like, oh, that's something I say. Oh my. I think she's the most probably character that behaves and acts like me that I've seen in media.
Yeah,
And I love her to bits, and that always kind of makes it such a joy to cosplay her.
me too.
But a lot of the other characters, like, I choose characters to cosplay for various reasons, but a lot of them are because they inspire me in some way, or I have like
Yeah,
a small connection with them in whatever way. It's definitely not all of them. Some of them I just pick because I like that outfit, or my friends are doing
yeah,
a group and I want to be in on that. Um, Obviously, like, again, She-Hulk's a big one. But I think with her, it's more of the idea of She-Hulk inspires me than Jennifer Walters as a character and personality.
Hmm.
Not that I don't love her as that. I don't mean for it to sound like that at all, but I
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
more like this strong woman and professional and what she stands for, I find very
Hmm.
inspiring.
Hmm.
But then, like, you got your other little cluster of ones that I really love and mean a lot to me that would be, of course, again, Black Cat, because she is definitely one of my favorites because she really doesn't care what other people think of her. She's here and she's doing what she's doing because she enjoys it. And she is
Yeah,
so happy in the way that she conducts herself and does things that I think that it's so delightful to see a character like her with such a joyful personality. And I absolutely love that. And I think it is very inspiring that I'm like, I love her. I don't care what you think. I'm here to do my thing and have a great time doing it.
yeah.
So while like maybe Jessica Drew is the character that I think I am a little bit, I sometimes wish I was a little bit more like Felicia, conducting herself with joy and sass and fun.
Hmm.
And then again, Mass Effect Miranda Lawson's another big one that I feel a very strong connection to, just due to some things that happened in my younger life where started off with a bad group of people, moved on with another group of people, realized, oh no, they're bad too after a while, and then finally got away and was like, I am my own person. And again, she's just there and is doesn't care what other people think and is a strong woman who's made her own journey. And the fact that she wants to look nice while doing it is nobody else's business. Uh,
Wow.
and then last one is just one that I'm still working on, but again has a very similar kind of connection. Because I've got a work in progress of Madeline Pryor from Marvel Comics X-Men at the
Mm.
moment, and just her constant desire to insist to everyone that I am a real person and I matter is something that I have kind of dealt with to myself at times, going, no, you're valid and you matter. And, maybe Madeline went about it in the wrong way and maybe she tried to burn down the whole world. But, you know, when you've had an evil guy like Mr. Sinister pulling the, did
Yeah.
we cut out? Am I
No.
back?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. I was saying when you got somebody like Mr. Sinister pulling the puppet strings for years, uh, and then finally she decides to go, no, I'm valid. I'm a real person and you can't stop me. I
Hmm.
admire that.
Yeah, I think it makes it a lot easier to cosplay a character when you have such a strong connection, or even just a
Mhm.
little connection with them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. So sorry for the long list, but those are several of the
It's okay.
characters that I'm like,
No, it's good.
cosplaying these
Um,
brings me joy because of the connection and because this is something that inspires me and makes me want to, have more of those qualities myself and more of that confidence. My
yeah,
type is
absolutely.
basically confident pretty women.
Yeah, same here, pretty much. Like it, most of them are all from Marvel, but I'm not ashamed of that because like
Yeah,
a lot of them Marvel women are just
they're really
amazing.
incredible. Well, I guess if I may to DC for a moment, Supergirl is another one that is definitely on that list. But for again, because of somebody who moved away from her home country to somewhere completely different, while
Yeah.
Supergirl is dealing with the added level of Krypton is destroyed, I do still vibe with her. I'm
Yeah.
in a different place. You know,
Hmm.
I'm I found the new 52 Supergirl story so inspiring for her kind of, getting her feet in a strange new place by herself. And I read that right after first moving to Australia. And then I almost immediately bought the new 52 suit. So that's another one that always brings me some joy like that. And then I read Tom King's Woman of Tomorrow last year. And now I want to make the Woman of Tomorrow suit because, again, an incredible story that just is about mercy and grace and has a really beautiful chapter about Supergirl's relationship with her parents. which is something I'm very blessed with, to be very close with both of my parents. And
Yeah.
I, I love that story a lot, and I think everybody should read it.
I have not read that story, so
It's like
I
an
might have to check.
8-chapter one-off, and really you don't need to know anything about the character besides this is Superman's cousin. She kind of does a similar thing.
Yeah,
And from there, it's very not connected to anything else. And I think it's a really wonderful story about forgiveness.
it's nice. Did you watch the Supergirl show on
I've only
CW?
seen a little bit of the first season. I really should watch more because I do love the character very much. Yeah, I'm not really sure why I haven't watched more. I only recently added the streaming service that has it to my pile of subscriptions, so that's probably why,
Yeah,
because I'm working through a bunch of other stuff. But which
understandable.
streaming service has what is just a never-ending chasing whatever down these days. So
Yeah, it's very true. Um, so I know everyone has different ways of handling this. So
yeah,
how do
handling
you deal with it?
trolls, gatekeepers, and bullies. Honestly, like in real life, I'm very lucky, but I've managed to find a good group of friends that I, spend my time with. Good, level-headed, mature people. Shout out to them
Yeah,
for being awesome. And on the internet, I just use the block button very liberally. It's there for
yeah,
that reason.
yep,
I don't interact back with them. I don't give them the satisfaction. Um, Occasionally it still hurts occasionally, and you need to go to your partner or close friend, tell them, hey, this is happening and I feel crap about it. But
hmm
for the most part, delete comment, block. And then if the same mean phrase keeps popping up, Instagram has that wonderful feature where you can block certain words and phrases from being used on your profile.
it's true.
Thanks, She-Hulk show and trolls, for teaching me that feature exists, because I use it all the time now. Because
Yeah,
let me
it's
tell you, since I started cosplaying She-Hulk and there is internet hate against that show, oh boy, the trolls found my page a lot more than they ever used to before.
yeah, it's an unfortunate thing that happens a lot nowadays, especially in the cosplay community.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't think it doesn't matter really how big or like how many followers you have. There's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be somebody that
Yep.
has something to say about your cosplays, and
Yep.
it's unfortunate and silly in my opinion.
Yep. And they just want to make someone else feel small, and they just want to know they did. So if I don't give them the satisfaction of talking back to them or trying to tear them down, they're never going to know I had a thought about them. So I'm just going to block,
Yep.
and you'll never do that again. Goodbye.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to deal with that. Just don't even like acknowledge them.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be your advice to new cosplayers?
I thought of something yesterday and now I'm struggling. I think one of the big things that when I first got into cosplay was like something that really held me back, especially, is I think that there is a misconception sometimes among new cosplayers that if you want to take photos, you need to wait for a photographer to approach you. And that's not true. Like, you can approach
Mhm.
photographers, you can ask, would you like to shoot with me? Can we take some photos together? Whether that's at a convention or planning a photo shoot, just
Mhm.
being aware that, some photographers will charge, and that's something, definitely be prepared to pay people for their services. And even if your
Mhm.
photographer doesn't charge, take care of them, bring them some snacks, buy them a meal afterwards. They're doing you a favor. But I think that was
Yeah.
a big thing that I was really scared and nervous for a while when I first started, and felt like I couldn't approach, I wanted photos of my costumes, but felt like I couldn't approach photographers. And once I kind of learned that, oh, I can ask first and that's okay,
Mhm.
It kind of changed things. I think there was another one that I had in mind as well, but I genuinely can't think of it at the moment. But
Like, one that I always
mhm.
say with this question is, like, don't be afraid to put your own twist on a cosplay or make it different or unique.
Yeah, that's a very good one. I love, especially like adding. Oh, the camera's frozen. Can you still hear me? Okay.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. One that I am always a fan of is, especially if you're cosplaying from something that's maybe like a very flat colored medium. Like when I started cosplaying, I cosplayed from anime primarily, which almost never has texture to the outfits. So
Mhm.
like if you can add something with a little bit of a different color flare, or maybe, a pattern within the flat colored piece or texture, that's always a really fun thing to do.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a really good one. I'm trying to think of another one. Um, like I'm kind of drawing a blank now too.
That's okay. Like I said, I should have written down my other answer. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Next question. So,
mm,
why do you cosplay?
Basically, just because I enjoy it. I have a good time. I really enjoy all aspects of it. Like, I do, I I'd have to do like a count up to make sure this is accurate, but I feel like I probably do a fairly even split of things I make versus things I buy at this point in my life. So I can't say it's entirely the joy of building something, even though that is something that I really enjoy, or else I would just buy everything. Um, but I also just I enjoy the energy and being with the community at conventions and things like that.
Hmm.
Um, I like to take a really cool photo and go, "Hey, that's me. Neat.
Yeah.
That makes me feel cool."
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I like for me, I it was cosplay has
Mhm.
been like another creative outlet that I can show like creativity basically.
Yeah, exactly. Because like
And it's been
another
fun.
thing that I've always enjoyed that I don't partake in as much as I used to when as I did, elsewhere in my life when I started cosplay, is I was really into makeup at the time. And it's something I
Hmm.
still enjoy, but I don't necessarily stay in with the community on top of what's trends. But I still kind of now have like this basic grip of, your basics. And I do always enjoy kind of a challenge with my cosplay makeup. Learning to, paint myself green this year and make it stay for 8 hours at a convention was a new challenge that was really fun.
Hmm.
Although now I've done it so many times and I'm like, I'm gonna do a big shoot with this MCU costume soon, and then I'm gonna take a break. I'm not gonna be green for a few months. I'm so done painting my whole face. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that I mean, like for me personally, my She-Hulk
Yeah,
cosplay
yeah.
was like the first time I ever like used like uh
Mhm.
body paint and stuff like that. So I was like, uh, what do I do?
When we were in lockdown in 2020, I received for my birthday that year a small cryolan palette with like all your basic primary colors in it, and black and white as well, so I could kind of mix and match, you
Yeah.
know, red, yellow, green, blue. So I had to play around with various face paints and colors at that stage. And that was when I first did a She-Hulk test with a different wig and stuff that I had in like a white tank top. And
Mhm.
like I tried a Mystique, I tried a Poison Ivy. I never got good photos, so it didn't make it onto the internet, but I even tried a red She-Hulk, things like that.
Hmm.
Um, so I kind of had the basics down, but this year was the first year I ever wore it to a convention. And then for Comic Con this year, back in June, I did face paint 2 days in a row because I did Gamora one
Oh,
day and She Hulk the next.
Oh
And
wow.
let me tell you, my skin was pretty unhappy the following week.
Oh.
It was a bad time to be my face.
Oh. Yeah, so we got a question in the chat,
Oh yeah.
actually.
Yes, I had question asked if I've ever played a male character, and I have. I haven't in a few years, but I do actually have a costume I bought off a friend that's a male character that I should fix up and wear. I have done so. Tamaki from Oron Host Club was one of the two costumes that I wore at my first ever convention weekend. I did do a female version of Natsu from Fairy Tail at one stage. I know I did other male characters too, and I am drawing a blank. Because sometimes when you've been cosplaying for 10 years, you can miss things you've done.
Yeah.
Tamaki was one of the main ones, though, and I definitely feel like there's someone else I am forgetting, and I'm going to remember later. I'm going to text you about it. Go, that was it. Um, but I bought a used Mephisto from Blue Exorcist costume off a friend a year or two ago, and I still haven't done anything with it, and I need to really badly. But I've owned that wig. I have the wig too, and I've owned it for probably 6 years. And just still kept putting it off because I love that character. He's so flamboyant and fun and bright and vibrant, and I do look forward to putting that together and wearing it. But yes, I've done male characters. I don't do them as often these days, but it's
Yeah.
not necessarily that I wouldn't if there's one that I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Like, I've had a few myself, actually.
Oh yeah.
One of them is Winter Soldier,
Yes. Good one.
and another one was Lawyer Daredevil.
Ah.
So I got the glasses, and I
Mm-hmm.
like my job is business, so I
Yeah.
already have like the clothes for that, and
Very good.
so uh, have you photos of all the previous costumes, or do you sometimes go back to a costume and update it?
Um, I have I have photos somewhere of almost every costume I've ever worn. There is one costume that I don't know where any photos of it are because I only wore it once and it was very messy rush job. I wasn't proud of it. It was Arisa from Fruits Basket for a group with my sister and another friend doing Toru, and oh my goodness, the third friend from that main trio's name escapes me, Hanajima. So we had Arisa, Hanajima, and Toru. Again, I used to cosplay almost exclusively anime. And I bought, because they wear like pleated skirts and like shirts with the little sailor collar.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought like this thick cotton that was almost stretchy, but not quite. And it definitely could not be ironed and pleated. Um, and like I tried to make a pleated skirt and nice sailor collar out of that, and it was just so sloppy and lumpy, and the skirt looked more like a gathered skirt. And I wore it for a couple of hours on a Sunday of a convention. My friend's sister took a couple of photos of us, and those might exist somewhere in the universe, and I might have a selfie if I went and dug through old computers. But for the
Oh,
most part, that costume never happened. And I've definitely gone back and updated costumes before. I have several that I'm trying to update now, especially a couple that I made for my partner this year that like I didn't quite finish as much as I wanted before the convention that he wore them to. So I'm wanting to go back and add some details.
yeah.
Yeah, lots of things I've updated as time's gone on. I have replaced almost every piece on my black cat over the last 5 years except the collar. The collar is like the only thing that hasn't been replaced at some stage on that costume. It's the only thing
Yeah.
from the original version 5 years ago. And sometimes I get a new wig or I get a new, I update things pretty freely, I'd say.
Yeah. Like for me, I think the only thing I can think of that I've updated is the Quake gauntlets for
Yep.
Daisy Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, I had like a piece of foam, like in shaped like the gauntlets that I like put over my forearms with Velcro, and then I ended up getting like this moldable plastic stuff that I use for most of my props. and made
Mhm.
the Quake gauntlets with that. So I'm
Nice.
thinking about using foam for
Mhm.
like new ones, because sometimes those gauntlets are like the way I have them like on my arm, it kind of makes it hard for me to move my arm more comfortably.
Yeah. If you can get foam and use a flexible paint, a foam armor has a little bit more give, can be a bit more pleasant
Yeah,
experience for the wearing.
yeah. But yeah, like sometimes like I try to go back and like upgrade or update cosplays I have.
Mhm.
Depends on the character and like how much like I want to put into it as well.
Yeah, when it's a costume you're gonna wear again and again, definitely worth it.
hmm where sorry. How has cosplay impacted your life?
Um, well, the biggest one is it was a main reason that I connected and met my partner, my fiance. So,
Yeah.
back in ye old days of Tumblr era, we were both very much into Rooster Teeth's Ruby. And he found my page originally because, like, after every episode, I used to go blog a little bit about it and write a short little, oh,
hmm
I loved it, blah, blah, blah. And he found, I believe we were just talking about this the other day. I believe he found one of those. And then he clicked on my page and found out, oh, she also cosplays.
Yeah.
So he followed me and was like, he was very new to cosplay and looking for people to connect with. And this was probably,
hmm
oh boy, 7, 8 years ago or so now. And then we kind of slowly just started talking until we were friends for a few years. And we were like, hey, I know we're half a world apart, but maybe we should date. And we still cosplay together
Oh,
all the time. It's also the reason, that I met pretty much all of my friends over here in Australia is just through the cosplay community here. So it's
yeah.
uh, to say it has shaped my life pretty much entirely would not be misspeaking.
Yeah. Like,
But it's pretty awesome because I'm pretty thrilled with how things have turned out overall.
yeah, like I honestly wouldn't have like half the friends I have if I hadn't started
Hmm.
cosplaying. Like, and
Yeah,
also making my Instagram account either. So,
yeah,
like, I met
definitely.
so many people on there, and like a lot of them have become really good friends of mine, like yourself.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Well, I found that it was a bit tricky actually to because I didn't have Instagram when I first moved here and first started cosplaying in this area. And
mm,
I'd have a quick conversation with people at convention. They'd be like, "What's your Insta?" And I'd be like, "I don't have Instagram." And so we just kind of lose touch and not speak really
mhm,
between conventions or anything. And then after I'd been here about a year, I was like, "Okay, all right, time to do this because I apparently this is where all the cosplayers locally talk." And what do you know? Within a few months, oh, I have friends. And
yeah,
I think it was just kind of like because it was so difficult not speaking between cons that I couldn't really connect with people as well.
yeah,
But thanks to social media, I can keep in touch with people and
yeah,
plan groups and meetups and hangouts. And it's been really helpful like that.
yeah. Even if they're like all the way across the world, like kind of like we are, like
Exactly.
we can still like connect like this. It's
Hmm.
really it's
Yeah,
really awesome.
it is great.
All right, so another question. Any horror costumes? I don't.
Mhm. Does Jill Valentine from Resident Evil count? It's a horror game, but she's not.
Yeah.
She's the heroine,
Yeah.
not. I've never cosplayed anything that was like any special effects horror on myself. So very recently cosplayed heroine from a horror game, and I have
Yeah.
previously done makeup for my partner and a friend who went to a photo shoot as BioShock splicers. That was a few years back now, but I helped them do the bruises and scrapes and dirt
hmm
and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, basically for the final step, we went in the backyard and threw dirt on them. So I've assisted with that before, but I've never done like a horror makeup on myself. I did have quite a bit of fun doing my makeup for Jill because, I just kind of took
Hmm.
um, a ashy gray brown eyeshadow I had that I thought looked closest color to dirt. And I kind of put my fingers in it and went, ugh,
Yeah,
ugh, ugh, fake blood, fake
that,
bruises. Yeah. And I
that's
had a
kind of what
lot
I
of fun
did
with
with.
that.
That's kind of what I did with my Tomb Raider
Oh, yeah, yeah.
cosplay. I just like.
Very similar vibes, those two.
Hmm.
Brown hair, tank tops, bloody mess.
Yep. No, it was like the first time doing that like by myself, like because I was staying at a friend's house
Hmm.
for the con a
Oh,
couple weeks
yeah.
ago, and I was like, okay, I did a test beforehand, and I'm like, okay, I need to do this by myself now. So I I did it, and it turned out pretty good.
It
So
looked really great.
thank you. It was fun. It was fun to do that. All right. So, what would you say are necessities when going to a con?
So this is one that I feel like has kind of changed over the years for me because I feel like at least in the area where I first started going to cons, the cosplay like repair rooms and stuff didn't used to be so common. So I would
Yeah.
always take like a little bag with a sewing kit of like thread of every color on my costume in case something broke and
Hmm.
needles, and I'd have a hot glue gun in there. I
Yeah.
had everything I needed. And these days, most conventions, at least where I live, have a cosplay repair station. So you can
Hmm.
just trek over there and get everything fixed. So like that's not really
Yeah.
something I take anymore. So for the most part these days I'm like my ID and my lipstick, whatever color I'm wearing with that character. Often I have like a little makeup patch up, but that's usually like a little foundation stick or concealer in case it comes off my nose or whatever.
Yeah.
Um and like a water bottle maybe, but even if I don't remember the water bottle, you can usually get one at the convention. It's just overpriced. So I feel
Yes.
like my main things are like the things that I have whenever I'm going out of the house is it's like lipstick, wallet,
Yeah.
house keys,
Yeah.
good. Change of shoes if I'm wearing big heels. Definitely that's important. Change of
Yeah.
clothes if I think I'm going out for dinner afterwards.
Hmm.
Makeup wipes if I'm She-Hulk in case I want to go in somewhere and look normal.
Yeah. Like I remember after the con when I went there's Tomb Raider a
Oh
couple
yeah.
weeks ago. My some of my friends had gone to a restaurant to eat, and I'm like, they're like, hey, we're at this restaurant across the street. I'm like, okay, because by that point I had done like a cosplay showcase on stuff
Yeah, yeah.
at the con, and like after it was done, like I texted them like, hey, where are you guys? And they're like, we're in a restaurant across the street, you're more than welcome to come. And I'm like, okay, I'll be over there. And I walked over there as Tomb Raider. I'm like, okay, I feel this is weird, but
Yep, yep. Um, yeah, after Comic Con this year, when all my friends went out to eat, I was like, hey, I'm really thankful that I did get to come home and wash up first. But sometimes I feel like I have still bits of green, like especially if I'm being quick and trying to get ready to go somewhere around myself.
yeah,
And I was like, I'm really glad this particular place we're going has low lighting, and most of the lighting is like pink or blue multicolored because it's on the weekend nights. So I'm like, so nobody's gonna really notice.
yeah. But like for me, after going to kind of like like a lot of cons at this point, I would say that I always try to bring like a couple snacks with me, like in
Yeah,
my
snacks are
bag,
definitely a good one to have. If
because they are also overpriced at the con.
They
Food is.
really are. They really are. Yeah, I often try to eat a big breakfast before the convention to try to like soothe the need for expensive convention food, but to a certain degree, sometimes I just relent and I'm like, okay, fine. Here's
Yeah,
$15. Give me a cheeseburger, please. A very tiny,
yeah.
very bad cheeseburger.
Also, you don't want to be that person that like goes to a con all day without eating or drinking anything and
Yeah.
almost passing out.
That is a bad time.
Yeah. Okay. That question I think you already answered. So, is there any like other cosplays that you're working on that you want to share, or are you keeping
So
them secret?
at the moment, I'm mostly trying to go back and finish work in progresses that I've had. I think like a lot of people during the COVID lockdowns, I was very easily distracted and constantly trying to keep my brain busy. So I would like
Yeah.
start something and not finish it. Um, and I have several things that are unfinished. I've always kind of been a little bit bad about that, but it got worse over that time. So I have
Yeah.
like a pile of like 6 things right now that are unfinished, possibly more. I'm trying to mostly go back and finish those at the
Yeah.
moment. So like in that pile, especially is 1980s Black Widow with like I've got
Mm,
like a fabric that's kind of like so dark blue it's almost black, which I think harkens back to how they colored the comics at the time where it was like a black suit but all the highlights were colored in blue. And I've got
mhm.
a red wig that has black roots, which again I think kind of harkens to how they were coloring her hair at the time where they'd shade it so
Yeah.
dark at the roots that it almost looked black. And I'm kind of
Yeah.
going to put like a bump in it at the back so it's like it was. um, I've
Mhm.
I've almost got the gloves and the belt and the gauntlets done. I just kind of need to seal them, I think. I think that's all I need to do to them and make the suit. Um, I bought myself a Clea from Multiverse of Madness and
Ooh,
my partner the Doctor Strange from the same movie. His Doctor Strange does
nice.
not need many adjustments. It just needs a couple. It fits in pretty well, but like the front where it crosses over itself tries to sag open really easy. So I'm gonna add like some snaps or something. And there
Yeah.
was something else small we wanted to adjust about it. The Clea is a bit big on me, especially in the waist. And because
Mhm.
I don't want to just take it in at the sides and lose that really cool black swirl fabric pattern she has on her sides, I'm probably gonna have to like rip the zipper out of the back and take most of it out of the back.
Oh,
So that's gonna be a bit of a time. The gauntlets are too big and the leggings probably need to come in a bit too. I need to style a wig to finish my Felicia Hardy Night Spider from the new Spider-Verse crossover. And I need to glue mesh into my mask that I've purchased. It's like her one-piece eye masks on each side.
yeah.
My Aerith from Final Fantasy VII is so close. So close. I just need to buckle down and style the wig and finish last details on the dress and jacket. Trying to think. I know there's others. I made a poll about it on my Instagram a couple of weeks ago about what I was going to finish first. I've
Yeah.
got that Madeline Pryor in progress I mentioned earlier, which is that's pretty weak. Honestly, I've cut the fabric for it. I haven't started to put it together. I have the big red gem that sits on the chest.
Hmm.
And then there was one other that I'd included in that, and I feel a bit bad that Crime Lord Black Cat, like from the Dan Slott era run, where it's got
Cool.
like the yellow cat eyes on the shoulders of the suit.
Ooh.
I've got the base of the suit is like 95% finished. Basically, what's holding me back is that weird belt she has and figuring out how I'm going to go about that. But then there are like 2 things that would be technically new that I kind of have on my plate. And because they've recently announced that they're going to have a Christmas convention here in Melbourne
Oh,
this year.
that's
And
cool.
I shuffled through my supplies and I found some things I can put together to do a Christmas version of a character I already have. And I haven't started it yet or really told people about it because I'm not completely certain it's going to come together. And I'm kind of saving myself embarrassment if I can't do it. But so we'll see if I can manage. And if I can, you'll probably hear about it on Instagram in a couple of weeks. And then I want to finish a couple of close friends of my partner and I did for PAX Judge Dredd and Judge Hershey from the Judge Dredd series. And the plan has always been for my partner and I to do Judge Death and Judge Anderson to match. So, and do like a little, group of 4. So they finished
No.
theirs already and they're really happy with them and want to wear them again, which is great. But that's made me and my partner very eager to do ours. But I already have bits and pieces for that, like my little side department badge
Ooh,
and my little Judge Dredd pistol, 3D printed by the friend who was Dredd. Very kind of
that's
them.
cool.
So those are basically what I'm working on, is all my half-done things, plus Anderson and possibly the Christmas costume.
It's a lot.
It's a long list. I know. You had no idea what you were asking me, and I'm sorry for that.
No worries, no worries. We got another one.
Yes. Do my partner and I ever do cosplays from the same franchise at the same con? Pretty often. It's actually more rare that we don't. We're often a couple, but not always. Sometimes we are just adjacent franchise. We did 3 conventions this year, and the first one we only went one day at, and we were Kitty Pryde and Havoc from X-Men. So not a couple, but same franchise, organized with a big group of X-Men. Mm-hmm. And then we did Comic-Con in June, and on day 1 we were part of a big Marvel What If group, and I was Gamora, and not in the big gold armor, but in the, we haven't actually seen it in the show yet, but because the Gamora episode was cut from season 1 and is going to be in season 2, and there's some design leaks of it, but it's basically Guardians 1 Gamora with some gold armor bits on her. Okay. And it's actually also an unused design from Endgame as well as that. So I was that, and he was What If Doctor Strange. And then the next day, I was She-Hulk, and he did Doctor Strange again, but he did what he called a mashup of No Way Home and What If Doctor Strange, where he was wearing like the jacket and the hoodie with the cape and carrying a mug and looking profoundly tired. It was very fun. It got a very good reaction. It was a good time. That's great. And then we did PAX this year, and we were Commander Shepard and Miranda, and from Mass Effect, and we did Carlos and Jill from Resident Evil 3 as well.
Nice.
But we also cosplay, Black Cat and Spider-Man's a big one that we keep coming back to. We've done Constantine and Zatanna. I'm sure we have more that are just escaping my brain for whatever reason at the moment. We've done Peter Parker Spider-Man and Mary Jane Spinneret from the Renew Your Vows comic. That's another one I really love doing. Yeah. We do a lot of couple cosplays. It's pretty rare we aren't connected at all in our costumes for conventions. Strange and Clea is one of the next ones up that we'll probably end up wearing to our next con together.
But that'll look great.
Oh, I'm really excited to wear that. I really loved Clea as a comic character for a few years now, since I first laid eyes on her and went, she looks like an 80s aerobics instructor, and I love that for her. And then I actually read a comic with her in it, and I was like, oh, she's so sassy, and she puts Steven in his place, and she is like his magical and mental equal, and oh my goodness, they're perfect. I love them. So when she showed up on screen at the end of Multiverse of Madness in the theater, I basically started crying and just freaking out. And I was trying to keep it down, but like everyone in the theater nobody else at that viewing kind of knew what she was. And everybody's kind of looking at me, this woman who's having a total breakdown, who clearly understands what this means. And it's also one of my favorite actresses, Charlize Theron, playing her. And everybody's just kind of like, well, that woman seems to be having a good day. And I'm over there like, shut up. Anyway.
Yeah,
I think from that moment, I desperately had to cosplay her. And as much as I love that costume and would like to make it from scratch, I realized that it would be so long before I could, that I would have time and funds to do that build, that I opted to buy it. And maybe as time goes on, I will slowly replace pieces of the one I bought with ones I made that are a little bit higher quality. If I'm able, I think that'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
Thank you. I do think I have a wide range of tastes. I also think that my tastes have changed a little bit as I've gotten, because I've been cosplaying for 10 years, and people change over 10 years, and I still like anime. I keep poking my partner going, we should do Spy X Family. We should do Spy X Family. So anime cosplay is not completely gone. I bought a Lucy Heartfilia last year that I need to finish making alterations to and wear again, because before Felicia Hardy, she was the character I cosplayed the most often. She was the character I connected most with. I just haven't worn a version of her in 6 or 7 years, and I'd like to do it again. But I do, I don't do anime as much, and I kind of found that with cosplay crowds especially, the anime crowd seems to often be a little bit younger. So as I got a bit older, I was like, oh, the people my age are into more Western-based things like Marvel and DC. And I was always very interested in Marvel and DC. And again, kind of when I met my partner, I was like, I want to read Western comics and I don't know where to start. And before we were dating, he gave me my first Marvel comic, which was the first appearance of Spider-Gwen in the Edge of the Spider-Verse. And I was like, oh,
Nice.
I love her. I love this. And then I moved over here and kind of slowly started reading more comics. And it's when I kind of got into more. And I've always liked video games and things.
What would you say your favorite video game is?
So I'm a Kingdom Hearts nut, deep in my soul. I know all that crazy lore and I try to keep it down, and then somebody plays Simple and Clean in my presence and I come bursting through the wall like the Kool-Aid man. I don't know. It's so difficult because and only in the last few years did I really get into Mass Effect and the Dragon Age games also from BioWare, but I love those. Those games, there's so much replay value in them again and again. And then because both the games have characters that I feel like I really connect with, like Miranda in Mass Effect and Cassandra in Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah.
So difficult. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts games and BioWare games are those are right up there for me. I think too difficult to narrow it down any further. I think we'll have to go those.
Yeah. It's always a hard question to answer.
Yeah, and then Resident Evil was the one I only recently got into, and I'm still too scared to play it myself, but I love watching my partner play it. And I didn't expect to love the characters in it, but so far we tried to play the remake of 1, and it was still just a little bit with the fixed camera angles too much for us. So we watched a summary of the story on YouTube. Yeah. And then we've played 2, 3, and 7 and are eagerly awaiting the 4 remake. And we'll probably play 8 very soon. And so far, every game I'm just kind of I just love these people. These are great. I'm gonna scoop up and protect these human people.
Yeah, Resident Evil is a game I haven't really gotten into until recently. My my former friend now, we're not friends anymore, but I used to watch him play this game a lot, and he would basically mock Mr. X and, and run around the house and tease them and stuff. It was kind of funny, but
amazing. Yeah, those games scare me in a very positive, fun way, but
yeah,
getting to cosplay Jill was very different to most of my other cosplays, so I had a really good time with that one.
Yeah, and you looked great.
Thank you. Great. Yeah, that one was fun. It was very different, very easy and comfy. I liked that about it. But the one thing that I didn't expect or think about was the fact that she wears her belt to which all the holsters are attached over her tank top. And I'm sure that's a design choice so you can see it, but you don't think about the fact that that means the belt is not anchored through belt loops. So my belt was sliding around all day, back, forth, up, down. And that meant my leg holsters were doing the same thing and kept trying to move. And that was a little frustrating, but there's really nothing you can do about it when the design calls for the belt being worn over the tank top.
Yeah. That would be a little annoying.
Fallout costumes. Yes, actually. My partner and I, he did when we went to Dragon Con together. Because I think that was where we first wore the Fallout costumes, was Dragon Con. That was our 1-year anniversary. So that would have been 2018, because I'm so sorry, my brain is not working. I have to math. We've been together 6 years in 2022. That was, so 2018 2018 Dragon Con. Yeah. Because 2019 is the year that I'm so sorry. I can't math today. Would it have been 2017 Dragon Con? Yeah, because we've been together 6 years and it's 2022. So 1-year anniversary, 2017 Dragon Con. I got there in the end. Sorry about that.
No worries.
He did a Vault Dweller, and he bought the basic suit and really dirtied it up a lot and made some armor bits and things. And I was Kate from Fallout 4. And that's another character I absolutely love. I love an angry redhead. A lot of passion for my angry redheads. And I had a brown corset and like these yellow jeans I'd purchased and weathered up and sewn patches onto. There's not a lot of pictures on Instagram because I only wore her once again after that, and I don't think the corset fits me anymore. But I would love to remake and rewear that because I love that character a lot. I did also at one point, because my partner and I are approximately the same height, I did hijack his vault costume once and do a cute, curly ponytail style and a little, neckerchief headband and wear that to a convention at one point. Oh, we also did, oh my goodness, how could I forget? We did Antagonizer and Mechanist from Fallout 3. And I'll tell you why I forget that one. It's because I wore the costume for about 2 hours before the shoulder piece, the belts holding it together, disintegrated and the whole thing fell off.
Oh no.
We always meant to go back and repair it, but then the costume pieces kind of got a bit beat up, and it's like, well, we'd have to just start from scratch now.
Oh no.
Whoop. There's very few photos of that on the internet, but we did do Antagonizer and Mechanist.
Oh man.
Like I said, when you've been cosplaying 10 years, you forget you did things.
So did that happen like right at like in the middle of the con?
It did. Thankfully, we'd already done the meetup for the group and gotten a few photos, and it was like, well, we could try to go get this fixed, or we could just put on regular clothes and go be sleepy, which is what we chose to do because it was the Sunday of a 3-day convention, and we're getting too old for 3-day conventions.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Because that was the thing that, like, when I was cosplaying living in America, most conventions were 3-day then, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And over here, they're usually just Saturday, Sunday. PAX is like one of the only ones that's also Friday.
Yeah.
But I always, when I'm, I always take at least 4 days off for PAX from work so that I can have Monday to recover, because I go real hard at PAX because I love it so much.
Yeah. Understandable. Have you ever thought about coming to any cons in the US in the near future?
I'd love to go to Dragon Con again. Dragon Con was amazing.
Yeah.
Really fun vibe. And obviously I'd love to do one of the big ones, New York or San Diego Comic Con would just be amazing. But I'd possibly pick Dragon Con again first, just because man, that was a good time. And it was really special to do that for my partner and I for our 1-year anniversary. And he was really sweet. And I had brought a Rose Tyler costume. And he told me he had a surprise for me. And he showed up to the con and he had bought a 10th Doctor costume without telling me.
Oh.
And he put it on and like he had the whole coat and everything. And it was, it was such a sweet, cute surprise.
Oh.
That was really cute. And then we also did All Out and Spider-Man and Black Cat for the first time that weekend.
Nice. Yeah, Dragon Con is definitely on the list for me. I unfortunately missed out on New York Comic Con this year because of financial reasons.
Yeah,
I was pretty bummed about that.
The big ones.
Yeah. I would like to go to San Diego one day just to experience that con.
Yeah, it'd be great.
But I'm definitely gonna make sure that I'm at New York next year because I so want to go there so bad.
Yeah, I'd love to. I don't know if I'll get to next year. Just my partner and I planning our wedding and other things. Yeah, so it's like who knows, but hopefully at some point.
Yeah. And yes, do you have a YouTube channel?
I don't do YouTube. I've just got my Instagram, but
yeah,
I post a lot of things on there about what I'm making and stuff. I'm usually pretty good about updating my stories with it. Unless it's something that I'm not sure I'm going to finish in time, so that I'll be quiet about it until I'm certain. Like last weekend working on my She-Hulk, because I was trying to finish it for the Wakanda Forever premiere on the Tuesday. And so I didn't tell anyone besides the people that I live with and like one of my close friends that I was working on it. So I'm just quietly sewing, not updating my Instagram until I was like, hi guys, it's done.
Yeah.
But I made and I still need to paste together the last one, but I made how I made it reels in like 4 parts by the time I finished the last one of my She-Hulk costume. I had fun making those, so I might make those with some more of my other costumes in future. That was really enjoyable, especially to document the more complex builds like She-Hulk.
Oh yeah. But you guys go check out Allie on Instagram, Allie_whoops. She has amazing cosplays, so
Thank you.
go give her a follow on Instagram if you're not already. So I think that's all the questions I got.
All right.
For this.
Thank you
So,
again. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know I said about an hour, but I know we kind of went over that. So
Not much. You're good. You're good.
But thank you so much again for coming on with me.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll have to do
we'll
this
catch up again, definitely.
Yeah. But definitely, if She-Hulk gets another season, we'll definitely be
for sure. Thanks, Gabby.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.